Now we have the principle 3. So that in this we have the common semantic distinctiveness. So common semantic distinctiveness means the meaning is same in all their occurrence, but the form is different, and that different is not phonologically defined. Means they are giving the same meaning in all their occurrence, but we have the different forms in all their occurrence, but those different forms are not rule governed, are not based on some system, or they are not systematically variant, but we can call it they are random. So they are non-phonological. So sometimes we have in many languages there are some irregularities. So the irregularities can be considered in this principle 3. So they can be the same morpheme on the basis of because they have the same meaning in all their occurrence, but the form may be changed in all their occurrence, and the change is not rule governed, is not depends on the phonology or morphology, but it is lexically conditioned in non-phonological in this principle theory. Means we have the different form, so these different forms are not phonologically or grammatically conditioned, but it can be the lexically conditioned. Lexically conditioned means depends on particular lexical item. So in with particular lexical item we have particular types of plural morpheme or past morpheme. So that is the phonologically no that is the lexically conditioned. So forms that share, so the interpretation, the forms that share the common semantic distinctiveness but differ in phonemic form, and those different is not phonologically explained. So for the understanding or the interpretation of the principle theory, so it deals with the non-phonologically conditioned allomorphs. So that means the forms are different, or the realization is different in the different occurrence, but the meaning is same, and that occurrence is not phonologically defined or not phonologically conditioned, means not predictable in sounds and cannot derive from the phonological rules. So such alternations are typically lexically or historically conditioned. Sometimes we have borrowed some words from another language, and they are actually occurring in the same way without any rule, because they borrowed from some other system of from the other language which has some different system, so we are using in that particular system, so it can be the historically conditioned. So there is no rule for that occurrence, that differences, but we can memorize those occurrence. Like these variants are still the part of the one morpheme. So they can share the common semantic value. So that is the one condition for principle theory, means the meaning is same in all their occurrence, either it is like plurality or tense, and they are in complementary distribution, that when the one appear, other do not. And they behave identical in syntactic environment, means all plural nouns take the plural verb agreement. So like when we have some irregular or the lexically conditioned allomorphs or the lexically conditioned form which has different occurrence, so we can understand those differences by the syntactic environment, because if it is plural, so the verb should be the plural and the auxiliary should be the plural. So on that basis we can understand that this particular morpheme or this particular form is actually showing the meaning of pluralness or the meaning of past tense, the meaning of future tense. By the syntactic environment we can understand that. So we have those irregular English plural. So in one word we have oxen, and we have children, we have larvae, and we have heads, which is the common sa, and we have hose. So here we have different phonemic form for the plural marker. So in the oxen we have un, in children we have run, in larvae we have a, in the heads we have sa, in the hose we have za. So these differences are not phonologically predictable, rather than they are lexical alternation, means with particular word we have this kind of plural, like with some word we have en like oxen, and with some word we have ren, so they are lexically conditioned. So, but we can identify it as a single morpheme because all these morphemes give the same meaning, means that is the common semantic distinctiveness. So they all form give the same meaning of plural. So we can say that is the one morpheme of plural. But the form is different, and the different, even though the different is not phonologically conditioned, it is lexically conditioned or lexical alternation. So by this, the example we can understand they are plural, like the oxens are in the field. So by are we can understand it is a plural. Children are here, so we can are understand this. Larvae are active, hats are open, hose are sharp. So by this agreement we can understand they are plural, and on that basis we can just define they are the same morpheme. That is the one morpheme of plural. So in each sentence, the highlights form the absent children, larvae, and heads and horse, different phonetically, but all share the same semantic distinctiveness, more than one. So their distribution is complementary. Each occur with a specific lexical root, and all trigger the plural agreement R. So on that basis, we can identify it is the one morpheme plural. So in Urdu, Hindi, we have some irregular plural. So like they are non-phonologically defined alternation for both non-plural and verb paradigm. So they can be considered the example of principle theory. So sometimes for the grammatical meaning, we have some plurality, gender, tense, but their differences are unpredictable in the form. So since the alternation is not governed by phonological rules, so these lexically conditional allomorphs comes under the principal theories. So for example, we have for plural, so we for many in many Arabic derived words, so the Arabic, so they follow the Arabic plural system, any suffix or prefix as a plural marker. Like kitab become kutub, so kutub is the plural. So there is no prefix. So there is some internal modification as non-concatenative for the plural. So it used in the same way in Urdu, sometime in the literary form, but normally we use kitab to kitabe, but in literary form we use the kutub. So the kutub is the irregular suffixation or the irregular plural marker, so which is unpredictable. So it can be the example of third. So but we can understand that pluralness by the use in a sentence. It's like walad, aulad. So this is the same types of child for children. Sher, ashar, maktab, makatib, kanun, qawanin. So these are the non-phonologically predictable changes in the form, but they are sharing the same meaning, which is the plural meaning. So on that basis, we can say they have the common semantic distinctiveness of plurality. So we can say it has the same meaning of plural. In lexical irregulars, we have some like with zero plural. So like in aurat or aurtein, so we have the a, which is the plural, which is the common plural marker in Urdu Hindi. But in like mard become mard, bal become bal. So there is no change for plural. So we can understand this plural by only by in the sentence by some syntactic agreement. So on that basis, we can say that they have the no phonemic change, but they actually showing the same morpheme, that is the plural morpheme. Sometimes we have the suppletive verbs in Urdu form, means we have the change from present to past, but that tense or aspect distinction is not determined by just adding some suffixes. So we cannot say that by we are adding some suffixes on that suffixes we can say that this when you are adding this suffixes, so it change from present to past or from like imperfect to perfective aspect. So it is it is not phonologically conditioned. They are actually occurring with particular words, not common for all the words. So they are not regular changing. So from like jana change into the gaya for past and perfect. For hona become tha. For lena become liya. But the forms are different and give the same meaning of or the same meaning and function of the past and perfective aspect. So they are the one morpheme. So when we summarize this, so in all Urdu Hindi examples above, The overt forms differ phonemically, but they share the same semantic role. So expressing the plurality or tense, but the difference cannot be explained by phonological context or rule. So in the principle three, we have different occurrence, we have changing, we have the variation in the form, and they give the same meaning, but the variation cannot be phonologically defined. So the variation is not rule governed, but it is lexically conditioned. Means these allomorphs are lexical conditions. So like with particular, but kitab become kutub, balad become aulad. So these are the example. Ox become oxen, children, child become children. So these are the examples of principle 3. Now we have the principle 4. So in principle 4, an overt formal difference among related forms. So that means the forms containing the recurrent partial or occurring in complementary distribution. So it constitutes a single morpheme. So if any of these forms, this difference together with a zero tactical difference is the only significant feature for establishing a minimal unit of phonetic semantic distinctiveness. So for interpretation of this principle 4, so this principle emphasizes that when two or more related linguistic items show a clear or the perceivable difference in their structure. So what Nida calls an overt formal difference. So that difference itself function as a morpheme. So provided it is the only element responsible for the change in meaning. So like we have the example, I just elaborated the example here, like foot or the foot become feet or tooth become teeth. So that is the tooth change in the plural for teeth. So that is the overt formal difference between the tooth and teeth is U and E. So this difference can consider as a one morpheme because it change in the meaning from singular to plural according to the principle 4. And so in simpler term, when the sound change, means the sound change from tooth to teeth, structural variation, there is a structural variation between two words consistently signal a grammatical or semantic contrast. So there is a grammatical and semantic contrast. So it is singular, it is plural, and it give the meaning for one entity and it gives the meaning of more than one entity. So from the singular to plural, masculine to feminine, and tense differences. So and when there is no other affix or suffix or the overt addition marking this contrast a zero tactical difference. So this is the one example for principle 4, and the second example when we have sheep to sheep, that is the plural. So there is no overt addition of any affix or suffix, or there is no change. So then the change is in the form itself is the morpheme that carry its single meaning on its own. So that where we can understand the meaning only by some syntactic agreement. So that is the example for principle 4. So principle 4 say that when there is some overt changes in the form and there is changing in the meaning because of that overt change in the form, so that things can consider as a one morpheme. But this principle is also criticized because in this case the U and E, when we have changed from tooth to teeth, so this changes cannot be considered as a morpheme. So it is criticized by many scholars. So like we have example for overt formal difference, like from foot to feet and from man to men. So they change from the singular to plural. So the vowel change alone express plurality. So no plural suffix like s or es appears. So here the meaning more than one is conveyed. So therefore the vowel alternation function as morpheme. So this alternation function as the morpheme, one morpheme. But it is criticized by many scholars because it is cannot be considered as a one morpheme, because morpheme has some particular meaning in different occurrences. And the other example are zero tactical differences, like when we have the sheep to sheep, so there is no overt plural marker, there is a zero morpheme. So but the sheep remain unchanged in the both singular plural, so it gives the meaning of plural. So that is the absence of change is meaningful, and the contrast with the other words where the changes occur, so that considered as a one morpheme. When we are using the sheep, plural sheep in particular context, in syntactic environment, we can just understand the meaning of plural sheep and the singular sheep. So that's another example for principle 4. And the third one is the phonetic semantic distinctiveness. So that means this refers to the minimal sound difference that result in the meaning difference. For example, man into main, so that is the a change into the e, and there is another example like foot into feet. The other example like tooth into teeth. So when there is some like phonetic and semantic distinctiveness, means that there is minimal sound difference, and because of that minimal sound difference, there is change in the meaning. So that can be considered as one morpheme, according to the principle 4 of Nida. So we have the example like foot, two feet, two teeth, man, man, goose, geese, sheep, sheep. So these are the in these examples we have the internal vowel alternation, which is the ablaut, and it is considered as a morpheme. And in that we have the zero change, so it is also one morpheme. So in Urdu, Hindi, we have some example for this principle force. So like we have the example like sher become sherni, sher become sherni. So on the basis of overt differences, so there is a some suffixes and prefixes and vowel alternation. So it is different from the example of English. There is no suffixes and prefixes, but there is some internal change. But in this example, there are some suffixes we are adding like ni for making it plural. But ni is not the regular for making it feminine. It is a masculine and that is a feminine. But ni is not the common suffixes to make it feminine, because the ladka, ladki, so the e could be the regular suffix to make the feminine gender. So that on that basis, on the basis of overt differences, we can consider it could be the one morpheme for making the word feminine. So it can be the example of principle 4, because principle 4 that if there is overt differences in the two words, and that overt differences change the meaning. So that overt differences we have ni we are adding, and that ni change the meaning from masculine to feminine. So we can call it is the one morpheme. So the suffix therefore function as a morpheme. So this is the common laki. So we can say that the e is the here the a change to the e. So that overt differences is considered as one morpheme. So in ladka ladki, we are replacing the a with e. So that replacement or that change in the form can be considered as one morpheme. And we have the another example for plural formation from Arabic loanword like kalam, aklam. So there is change from so we are adding some a, that is the prefix a, and the vowel become lengthening. So there is some overt differences in the form, and that overt differences change in the number, and so it changes the functioning of a morpheme. So that can be the different morpheme. So there are two types of change. We are adding the a prefix in kalam, and we are also lengthening the a vowel in the kalam. Means when there are some overt changes in the form, so that changes can be a morpheme. So the zero tactical differences also, which is non-overt marking in Urdu Hindi. So like bal, the plural for bal is also the bal. For Khan, the plural Khan is also Khan. So they have change in meaning, but there is no overt changing in the form. So that can also be considered as morpheme according to the Nida's principle 4. And there are some internal vowel alternation in Urdu Hindi. So those words which are borrowed from the Persian or Arabic, not Persian, Arabic, like kitab become kutub. So in this form, it is same type, so not very much similar like foot or feet, but there is some internal vowel alternation. So there's internal vowel alternation can be a different morpheme or can be a example of morpheme. So on that basis we can say that if there is a change, the overt change in the form and that changes leads to change in the meaning, so that can be considered as one morpheme. So the same way we have the pow and pow, so there is no change. So that word, so that is also the example of zero tactical differences could be the example of principle 4, which is say that when there is no change in the form, but the meaning is changed or the function is changed, so that can be considered that one morpheme. So when we summarize this principle, so the principle 4 thus show that a morpheme may be realized through the internal change or as vowel alternation, sometimes by affixation, sometimes by absent of overt marking, the zero morpheme. What matter is that when the formal distinction between the related forms means when there is some change in the form, and that change conveys a consistent semantic or grammatical contrast. So when we have any change in the form, like from foot to feet, from foot to feet, from tooth to teeth, so that change is actually uh, conveys some change in the semantics or grammatical function. So that can consider as a one morpheme. So we have the example from man to man, share to sherni, laka to laki, so that there is some overt changes and that change is actually responsible for the change in meaning. So thus the principle 4 broadens the concept of morpheme beyond the affixes or separate words to include internal phonological modification and even the absence of change, both of which can meaningfully differentiate linguistic form. So even though there is no form, there is no change, so we can change the meaning. Now we have principle 5. So the principle 5 says the meaning of any form is definable in terms of their feature or features common to the situation in which the form occurs. Means the homophonous form, that the linguistic form which sounds alike, means when they have the same sound, so they are identical as they have the same sound, but they could be the different morpheme on the basis of the following condition. Like the homophonous form with distinctively different meaning constitute the different morphemes. Like we have the example of English, like bank and bank. One is the financial bank and the other is river bank. So they are the homophonous, but they actually representing the distinct meaning, means different meaning. And that different on that differences we can call it they are the different morphemes. So that is the principle 5. And the homophonous forms, the other distinction is that the homophonous form with related meaning are related, constituent a single morpheme if the meaning classes are parallel by the distributional differences. But they constitute the multiple morpheme if the meaning classes are not parallel by the distributional differences. So in that condition, we have either if there is some parallel distribution differences, so they can be call it the one morpheme, a single morpheme. But if the multiple morpheme they are representing and they are not parallel of the same distribution differences, so that could be the multiple morphemes. So we have the example for this. So the core idea behind behind this principle of 5 is that this principle focuses on the common semantic distinctiveness. The meaning is same, and the distributional behavior as the basis for the identifying. Means the distributional behavior of that morpheme is the basic criteria for identifying that morpheme. So whether the homophonous forms, so that is the words or the morpheme that sounds alike. So they have the same sound, the same pronunciation, belong to the same morpheme or represent the different morpheme. So even though they are same morpheme, but sometimes they represent the different morpheme because they essentially distribute according to they actually different they actually represent different meaning. Like we have given the example of bank and bank. So they are the homophones, but they are the different morpheme because of they have the they do not have the common semantic distinctiveness. They have the different semantic or different meaning. So essentially, the sound similarity does not guarantee the morphemic identity. Means even though the sounds are similar, they are homophonous. That does not mean they are the same morpheme. They could be the different morphemes. So like meaning means semantic, whether the form express the same or related meaning. So on that basis, we can define it is the same morpheme, or the distribution in grammar, whether they occur in the same or the different grammatical or the syntactic environment. So that is called the function or the grammatical category. If they are representing the same function, same grammatical category, so they could be the same morpheme. Even though the form is same, but they are representing the different types of grammatical category, not the same grammatical category. So on that basis, on that function, we can say that these are the different morphemes. Like we have the sa. So sa have two different grammatical distribution. Like one is sa is actually used for plural in cats, or in other it is used in when the subject is third person singular, like eats. So that sa has two different grammatical functions. So that means they are two different morphemes. Even though they are homophonous, they have the same sound, they have the same form. But even though they have the same form, but they are the different morpheme on the basis of their function, their grammatical distribution. And the other example is bank. So bank is two same words, but they are representing that different meaning. So on that differences, we can say that they are the different morpheme. So that is the principal five C's. So homophonous form with different meaning, different morphemes, and that we have example of bank and bank. So they are the different morpheme that we have already discussed. So that is so the phonetic similarity is accidental, but has grammatical and semantic connection. So these things have different meaning. So they are the different morphemes. And the other thing on the basis of grammatical environment, like even though they are the same form, like run and run, they are the same form, but in one case the he runs every morning is the verb, and in the he went for a run is a noun. So that means the run is homophonous. So both share the same semantic code, that is the moment, and their grammatical distribution differ from the verb to noun. So therefore they belong to the same morpheme with different syntactic function. So in Urdu Hindi, we have the example of homophonous, like the words kal and kal. So they are homophonous, but they have different in meaning. So that can be the different morphemes. So kal is a different morpheme. It is used for yesterday, and kal is the another morpheme. It is used for the tomorrow. Fal and fal. So in the one meaning, fal is the fruit, and another meaning, fal is the result in Urdu Hindi. So they are the different meaning because they represent the different semantic domains, but the form is same. So that's why they are distinct or different morpheme. Another example like Dod, chal. So in one, dod is the race, which is the verb, and another dod is the verb. So they have the same types of function like running. So the function of running. So that is why they could be the same morpheme, but they have the different syntactic role. In the same way, the chal like for move or move. So they could be the same morpheme, but they have the different distributional role. Khel and khel, they have the same morpheme. So like khel is giving actually has the common meaning, which is the play. So they are the same morpheme. And the other example like noor and noor, so they are different morpheme despite of the related meaning. So in the one form, the noor is for the light, for physical, and the other means noor means spiritual beauty. So they are distinct morpheme, different morpheme because of their distributional, they are different in meaning. In the same way, we have the rang and rang, so they are also the different morphemes. So when I summarize these things, so the phonetic similarity alone does not determine the morphemic identity. So the semantic relation, and the grammatical distribution together decide whether the homophonous forms are same morpheme or the different morpheme. So in Urdu, Hindi, there is this lish polysemy or the loan vocabulary coexist. So this principle helps distinguish between the true polysemy, the same morpheme, related meaning, or the homophony, different morpheme, unrelated meaning. So the words like chal, khel, daud demonstrate the morphological unity with syntactic diversity. So they can be a same morpheme. While we have the pair like kal for the yesterday and tomorrow, and there is another example of like ser for some measurement, like for 1 kg traditionally we use ser, and there are some straw also like ser. So it reveals the lexical divergence despite the phonetic similarity. So precisely the kind of morphological insight. So Nida's fifth principle aims to formalize all these differences. So now we have the principle 6. So the principle 6 means a morpheme is considered the isolatable if it can occur independently or identifiable combination under the following condition. If it is occur in isolation, so it can be the one morpheme like the free morpheme like book, cat, dog. So they are all the one morpheme because they are occurring in isolation and they have their meaning. And if they are occurring in multiple combination in the same form, so they can be the morpheme. Or if they, even though they have the single combination with some particular words, like the receiver, we have the example of receive or deceive. There are many examples in English: receive, deceive, conceive. So these the sieve has particular meaning because it has some combination with fixed prefix. So they can be a one morpheme. So the interpretation for of six morpheme is the morpheme occurring in isolation like boy, girl, stone, water, pen. So they are the free morpheme. So they can be considered as one morphemes. So in Urdu Hindi we have example like boy, like ladka, ladki, pani, kitab, darwaza. So they are the one morpheme because they are occurring in isolation and they have their full meaning. They have their independent meaning. So they can be a one morpheme. And even though there are some words and there are some word formation process, so there are some words which occur in many combination. So they can be considered as, so they are one morpheme occurring in multiple combination like respect occurring respectable, respectful, respected. So here the respect is the one morpheme because it has many combination. In the same way, we have the able that occurs in respectable, breakable, agreeable, preferable. So able cannot occur alone, but combines with free morpheme like break or agreeable, breakable. So it can be, so which can occurs independently. So that means is so that able is considered as a isolatable word morpheme because it occurs combination, multiple combination with other words. Those words can occur to freely, like break and agree, then breakable and agreeable. So that is the another example for this multiple combination. So like we have the Urdu example like pad. So pad can occur in padai, in padne, in padne wala. So pad, which is the root, which is the one morpheme. Because independently it does not occur, it always occur with some combination or some compound word, but it is the one morpheme. Like likh, so likh sometimes occur like likh do in compound word, or sometimes is occur in the likhna, likhai, likhne wala. So in all these forms the likh is common. So this likh occurs in combination as a free root morpheme, so it can be isolated on that basis, so it is the one morpheme. So that is the another example of English which is very rare. Like in this example, the only once in a language. So it is not regular. Like in the word receive that we have contain two morphemes like re and sieve. So the re occurs in other combination also like the redo, rebuild, rewrite. So re can be a so and but the sieve does not occur independently. So the re can be a isolatable morpheme, but the sieve is non-isolatable because a bond root that appears only a fixed combination like receive, conceive, deceive, and perceive. So this sieve can occur only this kind of combination only. So this is non-isolatable because it does not occur independently, and even though it is not occur with with many other combination. So it is the non-isolated. So we have put the example like badnaam, badsuluki, badtamizi, and for pan, acha pan, meeta pan, sacha pan. So these are the bad and pan, the example of those morphemes. So I conclude here. So Naida's sixth principle, after a scientific and linguistically rigorous framework, so for identifying the morphemes, so emphasizing the both form and function, so they guide linguists to observe and recurring the pattern and analyze the sound meaning. So we, on the basis of their form and meaning, even though when we have the same meaning in all their occurrence, and sometimes we have same form and sometimes we have different forms, sometimes the form is phonetically conditioned, sometimes the form is grammatically conditioned, sometimes the form is irregular, which is not grammatically conditioned, but they give the same meaning. So on all these basis, we can say that they are the morphemes. So that these are the six principles of NIDAS for identifying the morphemes. Thank you.